up till now, we've covered how to stand, how to pull up correctly, the plie, which means to bend, étendre, which means to stretch, and today we're moving on to the third letter of the acronym per set, Relevé, which basically means to rise. Let's get into it.
Hi, my name is Carmen.
I'm officially an online ballet coach,
Activewear founder and lover of all things ballet.
I've even got the training to back it up.
With my Shaketi teacher's ballet qualification and years of teaching under my belt,
I am here to help you level up your ballet game in a fun, easygoing, and detail-orientated way. Relevé, relevé, relevé. But what is relevé? I'm glad you asked. Let's check in my Ryman's Dictionary of Classical Ballet terms. Relevé. Abbreviated form of time relevé, a rising action from the whole foot to the demi-pointe or point, may be practiced on one supporting leg or in any position of the feet, and executed with various dynamic qualities according to the context. May be performed smoothly on straight legs with the heels lifting until the ankle joints are fully extended. To return, the heels are lowered with controlled resistance. See, rise. We'll get back to that just now. May be performed with a slight spring, starting on demi-plie, rising up on point, then lowering on demi-plie. Both feet moving evenly. Also executed from 2 feet or 1 foot, starting on demi-plie and ending on fondue. From 1 foot to 1 foot, starting and ending on a fondue, and from 2 to 1 on the ascent, and 1 to 2 on the descent. When relevé is performed on 1 foot, the working leg may be held in or open to a variety of positions. Fourth divan to second, arabesque, or attitude. Often taken in series. See échappé relevé, emboîté relevé, fouetté relevé, relevé derrière, relevé devant, relevé développé, relevé dégagé en tournant, and the list goes on. Relevé is so important for strength, balance, and control.
Remember I said we'd get back to rise? Now's the time.
Rise, a slow sustained relevé action performed on a straight supporting leg or legs. A raising of the body achieved with the heel lifting as the body weight is elevated over the ball of the supporting foot. To return, the weight is lowered with controlled resistance and maintained over the forefront, not allowed to settle back over the heel, very important. Initially learned slowly in the 5 positions of the feet and taken pied à quatre until the feet and ankles are strengthened. Eventually performed on 1 foot and taken with greater speed. Pied à trois quatre is as high on the ball of the foot as possible as a preparation for point work. Practice to strengthen the supporting leg and foot and to test the dancer's center of balance in set adages. So let's look at the difference between a rise and a relevé in practical terms. Rise on straight legs. Make sure your weight is through the second toe and slowly come down with resistance. Let's look at a relevé, shall we? Plie, slight spring, plie, and stretch. Proper foot alignment is always very important when it comes to a relevé or a rise. And the reason is because if your weight is over your baby toe or over your big toe, you're definitely going to twist an ankle or cause some kind of injury, and we definitely do not want to encourage that. So you want to make sure that you're always thinking of your middle toe being the point of where the energy is flowing through the floor. Remember, étendre, lifting up nice and tall, and energy shooting down through the floor. That energy must be going down straight through the hip, down the knee, down the ankle, down through the middle toe. So whether you perform a rise or relevé, your foot alignment will always remain the same. When we're thinking of stability in a rise or relevé, you want to really make sure that you're activating your inner thighs, your core is activated, and your glutes are wrapped down, round through, and everything else is where it should be. If you have missed any of the previous classes in this series, I really encourage you to go and look at them, because as we go along, these videos will just become more and more in depth, and you might start getting confused and unsure of certain things. So please go back and look at those other videos, even before you continue this video. And when it comes to maintaining a lifted posture, you really want to make sure that you're making proper use of étendre. You see, when you're in your rise or relevé, you don't want to be sinking into your ankles, because that means you are weakening your ankles, and it's just going to create weakness as opposed to creating strength. Do you understand what I mean? You really want to feel like you've got that lifting up, that you've really got that lifting up sensation going up, and shooting down, 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 down. So you want to make sure that your ankles aren't jiggling about like this. They must be firm and strong. I forgot to introduce you to my teaching stick. I used to use this teaching stick when I had my ballet studios years ago, and they are my best friend, and I completely forgot to start using her during this lesson. But now I have remembered, so this is great. To keep things simple, what I want to do is to start off with taking the advice from the Ryman's Dictionary of Classical Ballet Terms, where it said you move through to pied à quatre to start off with until your feet and your ankles are strong enough. So we are going to do that now. So bring your feet to feet parallel. I think this will be the easiest way to do it. And you want to bring them close together. Now, when you're standing here, you don't want your ankles to be pushing against each other. You know those ankle bones over here? You don't want them to be pushing together, and you don't want the big toe to be coming off the floor. You want to spread your weight evenly between the 2 points of the front foot with a little bit of weight in the back. Remember, you want to keep most of your weight on the balls of your feet. So when we do a rise, we're just going to do it up to pied à demi, okay? So just a half a rise. Now, to tell whether you are sinking your ankles at all is if you go up and you feel like your ankle bones are crushing each other or they're touching, that means that your weight is mainly on your big toe. And if you feel like almost like your toes want to come off the floor, particularly your big toe, that could mean that your ankles are rolling out to the side. So remember that energy, straight line going through the middle toe, through the second toe. We're going to rise up to quarter point, making sure that your ankles aren't touching and that your big toes aren't coming off the floor. So keep that weight evenly distributed through that second toe. Now we're going to move on to doing a full rise onto pied à trois quarts, okay? So right onto the tippy toes. Now when we do this, we're going to start in first position. Actually, I'm going to face you, feet parallel, because I think it'll be easier for you to see what's happening with the feet. So when you perform a rise, all the way up onto the highest point of the demi point, you're going to basically engage your inner thighs, your core. Remember, shoulders back, down, closing your gates at the back and at the front. And we're going to rise, not holding, hanging. I'm just using this to help keep my balance while I'm explaining to you. But you should be able to do a rise without holding onto anything. So as you can see, it's not a pulling yourself up or pushing yourself up when you're at the bar. It's literally engaging all your core, your glutes, your inner thighs, and pushing into the floor as you're pulling up out of your hips. So you've got, remember, that pulling sensation going this way and that way. Now, when you come down from the rise, you want to make sure you're using resistance. You're not just going to come up all beautifully and then just drop down onto your heels, because that is just going to let go of all the hard work that you had just put into getting into that beautiful rise. So we're going to rise onto our tippy toes. From here, you're going to make sure that the weight is through the second toe, and as you go down, you are lifting up. It's almost like you're resisting, like there's a ball underneath your heel, and you need to try and squeeze it down to push it flat. Remember I spoke in the third lesson, the plie class, about your heels that only come up under duress. It's the same thing now when you come down from a rise. It's almost like your heels, you don't want them to touch the floor, but they have to. So we're up in our rise, waist evenly distributed, lifting up nice and tall. From there, you're going to slowly, with resistance, lower the heels. Now it's important to note that you keep your weight over your toes as you do that you don't let the weight slip to your heel, because if you do that, you're literally going to fall backwards, and then it's going to be very difficult to recover from that, especially if you're in the middle of an enchaînement or something. The reason why I'm emphasizing a rise to be this important with using resistance and all of those tips that I've given you is simply because it's preparing your feet for the ultimate goal, which is point work. And if you haven't built that strength in the ankles and in the calves and in the feet and in the rest of the body, you're going to really struggle with point work. So it is very important that, I know I say this with everything in ballet, but it is really important to master this basic technique. Let's talk about relevé now. Now it's important to remember that a rise is always starting with straight legs. You never form it from a plie. But when you come down from a rise, you could come down on a plie or a fondue or on straight legs. And now the opposite is true for a relevé. If you're starting a relevé, it'll always start from either a plie, which is the bend of 2 legs, or a fondue, which is the bend of 1 leg. And when you come out of a relevé, you could either come down with straight legs or into a plie or into a fondue. So those are the basic differences between the rise and the relevé. A relevé will always have like a snatching or springing or sucking sensation where the toes will basically replace where the metatarsals were. So for instance, if this is my foot and this is my metatarsals over here, when I bring my toes up into the relevé, they will replace where this was. So look where my toes are now. When I relevé, it'll come up to where the metatarsals were and then back down like that. And just like bâton tendu is a build up to learning how to do sautés properly, and that a relevé is even in a sauté. But we will touch on that in one of the future classes when we talk about sautés. Now, when you want to get into a secure relevé position, you will see that lessons 1, 2, and 4 will help with that sensation, because it's all involved with how you pull up, how you turn out, how you stand, and the use of a bâton tendu, or should I say étendre. Now let us try to do some relevés in different positions so you can see how those would be executed with the replacement of the metatarsals. Remember also, in a rise, you won't move the balls of your feet at all. They will stay grounded constantly throughout. The only time that you will do the slight spring is in a relevé. So a relevé in first position would pretty much, where my metatarsals are, that's where my toes will end up when I am at the height of my relevé. So plié, relevé, do you see how my heels are almost touching? That's because my toes replace the metatarsals. And to come down, the same thing, a slight spring down so that your heels are touching. You see, if I'm at the height of my relevé here and I come straight down without the slight spring, it's going to cause problems with my turnout and my heels are going to knock. So the slight spring is up and down. In second position, again. But now what I want to stress here is that you're not going to shoot past your toes. Okay, because if I shoot past my toes here, you're going to be in a very precarious position. Do you see how wide this échappé? This is now like more than échappé. This is, I don't know what this is. This is like teetering on the edge of life. From second position, where my metatarsals are, that is where my toes are going to replace again. So bend, replace the metatarsals. So can you see that my relevé became a little bit narrower? Slightly, because my toes replaced my metatarsals again. In fifth position, would be slightly different. You would almost want to think of not squeezing both legs. Even though both legs are doing the snatched movement, you want to focus on, if this is my back foot, and this is my front one, you want to almost think that you're snatching that back foot into the front one. And that helps with balance, because if you were to bring more of your front foot to the back, you will be bringing your weight back again, and that's what we're trying to avoid. So in fifth position, plié, squeeze. Now if I turn on sideways to you, you will see, look how my legs are hugging together. That's because everything is staying down and together. And then the plié is the slight spring down. So let's try that again. You could watch from the side, then plié, squeeze the back foot in, and then plié to come back out. Slight spring again. In fourth position, same thing. Toes replace the metatarsals. Plié, replace the metatarsals, plié, and straight. Also, just remember that a relevé doesn't necessarily always have to come down on a plié. Because remember I was saying earlier, it could come down on a fondue, which is a bend on one leg, a plié, or on straight legs. On one foot, on 2 feet. It just pretty much depends what you are instructed to do in class. Now we come into the point of the class where we talk about common mistakes and corrections. So the first one is not distributing your weight properly through the foot. And what I mean by that is either having your weight too much on your big toe or too much on your baby toe. Remember, you want the energy to travel through that second toe, the one that's next to the big toe. You don't want your ankles to be like collapsing or outwards or inwards as you are busy doing a rise or a relevé. Another common mistake is not making proper use of a tendre. Again, if you didn't watch that video, I will link it for you. You can go check it out. But yeah, you want to make sure that you are really pulling up, whether you're going up or down. No matter which direction you are traveling in ballet, you always want to be lifted up. That's why I think it's very difficult for ballet dancers to get into the groove of hip-hop, because hip-hop, everything is like down, down, down. In ballet, everything is up, up, up. Third one is springing in a rise. Remember, the spring you want to save for your relevé. In a rise, your ball of your foot does not leave the floor. So it's always a gentle movement up and a gentle movement coming down, whether you end in a plie, a fondue, or one straight leg. And the final one, well, the only one I can think of for now, is not controlling the lowering of the heels. Very common to see people, including myself sometimes, falling out of a plie or a relevé. That is something you want to avoid. You want to constantly be in control and have your weight over the balls of your feet so that you can gently control the lowering of the heels. Fun fact, if you want to build calf strength, try doing rises, but keeping that resistance going throughout. If you want to watch any of those videos or strengthen your calf muscles, I have a whole bunch of calf muscle exercises for you to do. And yeah, people tell me that they're amazing, so I think you'll like it. Let us together do a couple of exercises. So I want you to stand with feet in first position. Remember all the corrections of where your weight needs to be, pulling up, keeping nice and tall, closing your gates, wrapping your glutes around. And we're going to just do a couple of rises and lowers in first position. So holding onto your bar or your chair, whatever you have, you're going to rise up. Remember, keeping your weight through the second toe and resist, slowly squeezing your glutes together and your inner thighs together as you lower. That's really why you want to feel that activation, so that you ensure that your heels are still turning out, your legs are still turning out as you are lowering. Because it's very easy. This is actually another common mistake, is when you lower to let go of the glutes, and then the turnout fails. So let's do a couple of those. Rise up and squeeze to come down. Rise up and squeeze to come down. Rise up and squeeze to come down. One more. Rise up and squeeze to come down. All right, your legs should be burning. I hope they are. Okay, secondly, let's do some relevés now in parallel to work on the strength and the slight springing action. So remember, you're going to bend, make sure your ankles aren't touching, and you're going to spring to replace the metatarsals with the toes, and spring back down to come up. Bend and spring, and bend, come up. Bend and spring, and bend and stretch. Bend and spring. Bend and stretch. One more. Bend and spring. Bend and stretch. For progression now, let's do some rises and relevés on one foot. So facing your bar. So let's do this with feet parallel. Okay, you're just going to lift your one foot off the floor. Rise and lower. You can feel here, now that you're just doing it on one leg, that you want to make sure that waist is in the right place. Because if you go over too much to the big toe, the baby toe, you're going to cause an injury. And I'm sure you can feel it now while you're doing it with one foot. Okay, now we're going to do a relevé. Bend and spring. Bend and stretch. Bend and spring. Bend and stretch. Bend and spring. Bend and stretch. One more. Bend and spring. Bend and stretch. Okay, let's do the other side. Rise and squeeze. Rise and squeeze. Rise and squeeze. Rise and squeeze. Relevés. Bend and spring. Bend and stretch. Bend and spring. Bend and stretch. Two more. bend and stretch. One more bend, spring, bend and stretch. Okay, now for fun, we're going to do 2 little exercises. For this exercise, you're going to face your bar with your right foot front in 5th position. We're going to do a slow rise to 5th, slow rise and a slow lower. Then you're going to do one that's slightly quicker and lower, point, close back. And we'll repeat it with the left foot in front. Okay, I'm using the grade 1 ballet work from the Shiketti method because I can't seem to find royalty-free ballet music anywhere. If you know of anywhere, please let me know. But for now, we're going to use this. So just ignore what she introduces this exercise. Right foot front. And slowly rise. And slowly squeeze down. Rise. Lower. Point. Close back. Repeat. Slowly up. And squeeze to come down. And rise. Squeeze and point. Close back. And finish nicely. Okay, if you want to do that again, please feel free to. Another simple one in 5th position for relevés. You're going to do 3 relevés in 5th, point, close derrière, repeat on the other side. So we're going to go relevé 1 and plié, relevé 2 and plié, relevé 3 and plié, tendu, close back. Repeat on the other side. Okay, right foot front, ready, and relevé, plié, relevé, plié, point, close derrière, plié, relevé, plié, relevé, plié, relevé, plié, point, close derrière. All right, how was it? I just want to quickly show you guys some other movements that one could do that would incorporate a relevé or a rise. For instance, there would be an échappé, there would be a susu, you could do a pirouette with a relevé, even from a fondue you could do a pirouette. It gets used in sautés because you're going through a relevé to do a sauté. Different jumps, different turns, the list goes on. I just want to thank you guys all for joining me with this class. I want to leave you with a couple of words of encouragement. As always, please remember that a relevé and rise, it does take time to build up, that strength will come. But please, I really encourage you to do those little exercises I showed you at the end. Do those a couple of times a day, or even once a day if that's all you can manage, and you'll see that it'll get better even quicker. But please don't overdo it because you don't want to do it all in one day and do it many times in one day and then not do it the next day. It's better to do it once every day or once every second day than to do it once a week. You understand what I'm saying? If you have any other questions about relevé or rise or any other steps that you're struggling with, please leave a message in the comments. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your wins, your victories, your failures, your whatever it is you're going through in ballet. I'd love to hear from you and I'd love to empathize with you, chat with you. So leave a comment and I will get back to you. Now, in the next lesson, we're going to be moving on to the 4th letter in the acronym PERG set, which is a G, and it involves traveling, so there's a little bit of a tease as to what it could be. But yeah, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I will see you in the next lesson, the G lesson, and take care of yourselves, be blessed, lots of love.